What's up, everyone? Welcome back for week 6 of my run in the Malamar Games. If you haven't seen the rest of my sets, and you really should, the Malamar Games are an ongoing league in which we play a VGC best-of-3 set with a random set of restrictions on our team building to keep things interesting. This time I'm up against SierraDawn, an amazing commentator in the VGC scene. She's been in a ton of major regionals and internets and all that, so you've almost certainly seen her before, but I will still be linking whatever I can find for her content in the description below, so go check her out. Anyway, so moving on to the team. The theme for this week is monotype. So we choose a single type and we have to build a team where every Pokemon is at least partially that type. As you can see, I chose Dark because I felt it had the most options for flexibility in terms of secondary typings and Terra typings. The format is Series 1 for this week, so no Paradox or Ruinous Mons, and so I felt that this typing was the best for that rule set. I'll go ahead and explain my building decisions real quick, but timestamps for the set are in the description if you'd like to just skip ahead. With that said, the sets are mostly pretty basic, so I'm just going to be going over the synergies that I feel are cool before we move on. So first, the big gimmick of the team is Fire Anger Point Krookodile. Now, normally people will run Krookodile with Intimidate as its ability, which they should. It's a fantastic ability. But what Anger Point does is it maximizes its attack stat, gives it +6 times 4 to all its attacks, but only if you get hit with a critical hit. And of course, usually that really hurts and you're almost dead, and Crook isn't that fast to begin with, so it's kind of overlooked. But what you can do is change your typing to fire and then use Meowscarada's guaranteed crit from Flower Trick. That, with a little bit of bulk added in, means that you don't take that much damage and you can just mow through people with quad effective moves. Yeah, it's really nice. And then the Terrifier also means you're immune to burns. They're not cutting that damage in any way. Then we have Murkrow is also really big here because Crook can fire off Earthquakes next to it as it sets Tailwind, and Sunny Day can boost the power of its Fire Terra Blasts even further. Sunny Day is also really nice for Hydreigon's Heat Wave. So speaking of Hydreigon, it has Levitate, so it can also sit next to Krookodile, and we have Haze on Murkrow to get rid of the drops from Draco Meteor. So you can just keep firing off these stab, base 140, I think. It's choice specs Draco Meteors off of a pseudo legendaries like base 130 something special attack. It's absolutely wild, and you just keep doing it over and over again. Although the main purpose for Haze is actually to deal with Dondozo, because monotype means you can bring Dondozo Tatsugiri, and that's totally fine. So yeah, Haze for that in case my opponent brings it will be really nice. There's also the Rain Surf Dondozo shenanigans going around. I was considering doing it myself, so having Sunny Day and Haze together should be a really nice counter for that. So finally, we have Grimmsnarl and Kingambit. These are super basic sets. You can't really go wrong with screens plus a very bulky, strong attacker. Flying is a pretty standard Terra type on Kingambit since it handles both fighting and ground weaknesses that it usually has, but it's extra nice here because it can sit next to Krookodile while it clicks EQ. And the team is pretty fighting weak, so having that flying Terra Blast could be really key coverage depending on what my opponent brings. Anyway, that is the team, so let's go ahead and jump into the set against Sierra. Okay, so jumping right into this, we find that Sierra is bringing Steel as the typing. It's pretty cool, actually. I didn't know that Berserker was a mon. It might not have technically been allowed in Series 1, actually, but I'm not going to be a stickler about it. It's pretty cool that you can put Steely Spirit on this, so I assume that's what they're going for with it. Anyway, yeah, so with Steel, you can see that when I chose my team for this, and this is after the fact commentary, by the way, I immediately went for Krookodile and Meowscarada gimmick right out of the gate, and the reason is that I can go Terrifier and Terra Blast into this entirely Steel team. I don't think there's a single mon that resists it. I mean, Terra types are a thing, so I'm sure that there's some water or fire somewhere on there as well to resist. But yeah, I don't expect them to see it coming, and that could mean some really good damage on my part. Plus, just, EQ from Crook could be really nice if I don't want to burn my Terra immediately. And then we're going with Murkrow and Hydreigon in the back. Heat Wave off Hydreigon could be really big. Unfortunately, this team completely walls Meowscarada. It straight up murders Grimmsnarl. It kind of walls Kingambit too, if I'm being honest. So yeah, these are definitely the 4 to go with. There's an argument for not bringing Murkrow. Mind you, like the Sunny Day could be nice for extra damage, but I don't really think I'm going to need speed control. This team is pretty slow by the looks of it. Goldie could be fast, and Corviknight could have Tailwind, so we'll see. Murkrow for the first game. All right, so let's see what the leads are here. Berserker and Goldengo, so that's pretty cool. I haven't played against Berserker in a long time. It wasn't even common in its debut generation in Sword and Shield, but what I do remember from it is that it gets Fake Out, which is a very powerful tool for it. So I go back and forth on this quite a bit. I'm not really sure what to do about it. Fake Out seems pretty obvious. You can just do Fake Out, Make It Rain, Fake Out Nasty Plot. I think at the time I was scared of a Nasty Plot. And I go back between a lot of plays, like maybe swapping Meowscarada out. I could protect both, protect just one. It really depends how risky I want to go with it. But what I ultimately decide to do is EQ on Crook and protect on Meowscarada. And in retrospect, I really should have gone Terra Fire on Krookodile. There was no real reason for me to not. That way I could resist this incoming Terra Steel Make It Rain. And if you add this plus the boost off Steely Spirit, plus it probably has a boosting item like Life Orb or Specs or something, it's some big damage. Now, the good news is the Protect on Meowscarada was a good call. So Fake Out goes into that, we keep our Sash, and more importantly, we keep our life on Meowscarada. And we learn that Crook is faster than Goldango. That's really good information to have for the rest of the set. And we get this Life Orb EQ off, which is huge. Almost picking up a double KO, so very nice start. And we learn that the cat, the Berserker, has Focus Sash on it, so also good information to have. And that's a crit. So honestly, I'm not sure it mattered. Terrifier would have been really nice to get to just keep going, and then I could have even gone for my Anger Point gimmick the turn afterwards. But yeah, now we have to bring in Hydreigon. We have Heat Wave on Hydreigon. It's very nice. It can miss, which is a bit frustrating, but because we're Choice Specs, we kind of have to just lock in. You can see here I'm considering going for Dark Pulse or something, but ultimately Dark Pulse can be walled by a lot of their team, so go for the Heat Wave and then try to cover whatever's left with... and I click Flower Trick here. That was I don't know why, to be perfectly honest. Knockoff is better every time. So that was a really silly click on my part. And yeah, so they swap out the Goldango and they bring in... I don't know what Kraramore is. It's a different language, I think. Corviknight. Okay, yeah, so Knockoff would have been fantastic here. It still wouldn't have done much, but I don't even think it's resisted, and we would have learned its item instead of this Flower Trick, which is quad resisted. So, yeah, silly move on my part. Really should have clicked Knockoff. But the good news is the Heat Wave does double connect, so we take out the cat. We do a ton of damage to Corviknight. So we're in a pretty good position still. So now that I have to think about it, there should be two other mons in the back. There's that very low health Goldango and whatever the fourth mon is. And the fourth mon is King Gambit, we just learned. Okay. So that's really big. At this point, I don't really have much use for my Terra type. Like, Grass isn't doing much for me on Meowscarada, so I might as well go for the Terra Steel to resist a hit from either of those mons, and then go for the Knockoff. Ideally, we kill the Corviknight with Knockoff, and then get a single target Heat Wave, which would be very nice. Does have to connect, mind you. And depending on 85 accuracy moves is never great. Knockoff gets the crit. That is not guaranteed, so that's very nice. I'm not sure we pick it up otherwise. I could see it happening. Meowscarada is reasonably strong. And we learned that it's Lumberry. That's really good information to get. Heat Wave, single target, does over 50%. That's very nice. And the Iron Head, another crit. That's 3 this game alone. That's a 1 in 16 roll. It's absolutely nutty odds there. So what do we do here? The problem is that because of that crit on the Iron Head, King Gambit does threaten a Sucker Punch, which may or may not KO at this range. Yeah, this was an interesting play on my part. I would have preferred to... and the Sucker doesn't KO, so ultimately it doesn't matter. I would have preferred to target the Goldango there. Although we do learn that King Gambit has an Assault Vest, and that's why I took the Heat Wave so well. Miss on King Gambit. And, oh my god. This game has been some insane RNG. That's actually nuts. Oof. Okay, so Meowscarada is down to Sash now. The good news is we do have Sucker Punch, and based on the damage, it's hard to say, but I would take a wild guess and say that Goldango is Specs. Unfortunately, we have to bring in our last Mon, which is Murkrow, so we have almost no offensive pressure left. I had a really good position and kind of threw it away, but our opponent's at such low health now that this isn't the end of the world. So I just go for... we can go for Foul Play on King Gambit and Sucker on Goldango. We're kind of banking on it being a choice item because a good Protect or Nasty Plot or something could throw us off. But I go for the Protect here on Meowscarada, which is interesting. I guess, it's not a bad play because the -1 on Goldango means that Murkrow could probably take the hit. But I'm checking the speed just to make sure I would be faster. But 111 is pretty solid. But yeah, the Sucker's the correct play, I think, here. And we do get it off. So that really strongly suggests that Goldango is Specs, just because a Protect or something to get around to the Sucker Punch while King Gambit takes care of Meowscarada. Like that, yeah. Be really good. Also, us going for Sucker gets around King Gambit Sucker, which is very nice. And even though it's resisted, King Gambit's so strong that Foul Play with another crit. I honestly don't know what this game looks like without 4 crits in almost as many turns. Or just over as many turns. Looks like that's nuts. But that's a good game 1 here. I'm gonna go ahead and skip to team preview of game 2. Great. So trying to rethink how I handled that first game, and even though I made some bad plays, I don't think the Mon choices were necessarily wrong. So I believe I do lead exactly the same way into game 2. Crooked Meowscarada, like, just having that Terra Fire and the ground and fire coverage into a mono steel team is very, very nice. And I still haven't shown off my gimmick yet either, so they don't necessarily know it's coming. They may, because the thing is that Krookodile not having Intimidate means my opponent doesn't see Intimidate go off, and therefore, like, they could infer the gimmick, but it's hard to say, right? It's not exactly a normal thing to see in Pokemon. The other thing that's different this game is that I choose to bring King Gambit instead of Murkrow. I found that I didn't really need the speed control last game from Murkrow, and I was lucky that it just came in when it was able to pick up a quick KO on the King Gambit. So yeah, same first 3, but King Gambit in place of Murkrow. The Sucker Punches might be nice, but otherwise we are kind of walled. Steel doesn't resist Dark though, so generally nice. And this time they switch it up and they're going Klefki plus Corviknight. So here is a perfect chance. The Corviknight probably feels really safe in the face of these 2 Mons. You know, grass and ground. So yeah, we can just go fire, get our +6 attack boost, and then just nuke it. Gonna be good. Yeah, the only issue with this strategy is that Meowscarada puts on very little pressure after it gets off this gimmick. Knockoff isn't bad. It is stab. It does get rid of their items. So yeah, let's see. I'm pretty sure we do get it off. In fact, there's not a lot they can do apart from like maybe read the Terra and go for a Thunder Wave on Klefki, but that would be a really ballsy play considering I'm normally immune to it. So this feels really safe. And they just go for the Reflect. That's fine. It's, you know, gonna help them, but +6 is +6. It's the equivalent of every attack being 4 times super effective for reference. So 1 screen probably not gonna do the trick. And yeah, you can see my critical hit not doing a ton thanks to my bulk, thanks to my typing resist, and yeah, Anger Point activates and we get this big Fire Terra Blast off. Oh, that is beautiful. That is a dead Corviknight. It's really nice because sometimes you build these cute gimmicks for Malamar and you don't actually get the chance to use them because your opponent is an actual person who knows what they're doing, and obviously Sierra knows what she's doing too, but this one gimmick is like you can't really see it coming until it happens, whereas like the Boom Burst nonsense that I was doing against Kevin, like once you see the Jolteon to Dunsparce, that's not happening. So yeah, I'm really happy I got to do this one. And now they bring out King Gambit, and this is interesting, right? Because they probably have a Terra type. I go for the Protect on Crook, and then are we gonna swap Meowscarada? It doesn't have a whole lot to offer, but it could knock off its the Assault Vest so that Hydreigon could take it out later. We'll have to see. Protecting Crook does seem like the play just because it's such a valuable piece for me now. And yeah, and knock off to get rid of that AV. That way that we can actually hurt it with Heat Waves. Because the unfortunate thing is that Klefki's going to set up Light Screen, so Light Screen plus AV will make it really, really tanky. And it actually changes to Flying. Sheds the Fire weakness, Ground immune now, same Terra type as mine, so that makes sense. But it does mean that it won't resist this knockoff, which is also very nice. And they go for T-Wave. Yeah, now that I'm not immune to it, that totally makes sense. And they go for Sucker. Okay. In my opinion, you should like kind of trust in your speed control at that point, right? If you're getting the T-Wave off, then you might as well just go for a Kowtow Cleave. But yeah, at this point, yeah, it's hard to say. Crook may or may not take the Sucker Punch. Like, we're just over half, but it is neutral, and King Gambit's just a very strong mon. We are just going to try to get rid of it now. Meowscarada is not really doing much for us anymore, so we could swap something else in. A Dazzle seems pretty attractive to Klefki to bring Meowscarada down to Sash, and Hydreigon also really, really won't appreciate that. So King Gambit's the play. We at least take it neutrally, and they go for the Sucker, and Crook takes it. Fantastic. That extra bulk really coming in clutch. And now, once again, we get a +6 Terra Blast off King Gambit. Now, not a chance. Even at full with the Reflect, I don't think it's going to take that. Because you got to remember it's Stab now, too. And yep, we call the Dazzle. So Crook unfortunately does go down with that double up, but it did its job for sure. It got 2 very clean KOs. And now my opponent is stuck with a support mon and whatever they have in the back. And we can bring in Hydreigon. I like the idea of leaving Meowscarada for last. That way we have a Sashmon that can do damage, protect, Sucker Punch. Like, it gives you a lot of flexibility to really clean up an endgame. And my opponent brings out Scissor. Okay, so that's pretty big for us. They've used their Terra and we have Heat Wave, so I see no reason not to lock into that. And then as far as King Gambit goes, Scissor can carry close combat these days is the thing, which is frustrating for sure. But yeah, what we really need to do is just get Scissor off the field, because once that happens, Klefki alone can't really close up the game. Heat Wave accuracy is killing me, but it does connect with the Scissor, so that's all we needed. That's fantastic. Okay, so we're not in a bad spot now. I really did need that connect, because this Dazzle is going to... Yeah, it almost kills Hydreigon. If we'd missed the Scissor, we'd probably lose the game, actually. And now, unfortunately, it's just going to be a long grind, because, yeah... Klefki has Reflect up, it resists Kowtow, it's going to resist Knockoff and Flower Trick, like, and Heat Wave misses again. Oh, God, this set has been just riddled with RNG. And now it's going to go... So, yeah, we're going to be just whittling this thing down. Crit for insult to injury, that one didn't matter. Yeah, we're kind of chipping away at this, and I am doing less to it than it's doing to my King Gambit, I think. So, like, the game isn't actually over yet. So when you're in these situations, you kind of have to like recognize... Yeah, protecting Meowscarada is always the play here. Right? You have to kind of recognize your win con is that I have that Sash, so even if Dazzle would Oko me, I just need to preserve it as long as possible, whereas King Gambit can take lots of attacks, and keeping Meowscarada on the field for as many turns as possible. It may only attack the same amount as if I just attacked, but it also keeps Dazzle as a spread move, so King Gambit proceeds to take less damage and can just continue to chip away at it. So it has Reflect up for 2 more turns, so the best play is always Flower Trick, because it'll crit through that Reflect, even if Klefki resists it. Yeah, at this point, barring a big crit on their part, that one's guaranteed. We should be good. So at this point, yeah, you can protect Masquerada and Kowtow. Even a crit shouldn't kill King Gambit at this range. So this is based on the damage. We could have just double attacked too, but I was just trying to lock things up properly. Yeah, and now at this range, Meowscarada outspeeds. There's no reason that we can't just wrap it up. Go for the flower trick, and I think I click Sucker, so yeah, I guess King Gambit will get the kill. Great, awesome. Great games, great set to Sierra. Yeah, I'm really happy I got to get that gimmick off. I hope you all enjoyed it. Next week we'll be up against Marcus Dion or Strider. They have gotten several Day 2's top cuts in regionals recently, so it's going to be a tough set. So yeah, look forward to that. Until next time.